The battlefield was silent for a moment, but not with peace. The silence was heavy, like the air before a storm. Broken machines lay across the dark ground. Smoke rose into the night sky. The stars above were not calm, they burned with strange lights. Something was coming. Something powerful. The human soldiers stood close together, weapons in hand. Their faces were tired, but their eyes were sharp. They had fought for many days. They had lost friends. Yet they stood ready because they knew the enemy was not finished. At the center of them stood the human warrior. He was tall, strong, and calm, but his clothes were torn and blood marked his arm. He had fought more than anyone else. Some soldiers whispered his name with respect, others with fear. They said he was different. They said he would never fall. Then the sound came. A deep vibration moved through the ground. The soldiers felt it before they heard it. Their weapons shook in their hands. The broken machines on the ground rattled like bones. And then the sky opened. From the clouds, great alien ships appeared. Their black metal shone under the moonlight. Red lights flashed like angry eyes across their hulls. The ships were not like the small ones the humans had destroyed before. These were larger, stronger, and older. They carried something far more dangerous. One soldier whispered, almost too soft to hear, "She is here." The human warrior turned his head. He knew the name they feared, the alien queen. The soldiers looked at one another. Some stepped back. Others held their breath. They had heard the stories. She was not just a leader, she was something else, something larger than life. Wherever she went, entire armies vanished. Planets fell silent. And now she had come here, to this broken battlefield. The sky darkened further. A new ship, bigger than the rest, came forward. Its shape was sharp, like the crown of a monster. The ship's shadow fell across the humans, covering them in darkness. The silence grew deeper, until it felt like even the air refused to move. The human warrior did not move. His hand rested on his blade. His eyes watched the sky without fear. He had fought many enemies. He was ready to fight this one too. The great ship opened. A beam of light cut down to the ground. The air inside the beam shimmered like heat. And then she appeared. The alien queen. She stepped forward, tall and terrible, her form both beautiful and terrifying. Her armor was dark silver, moving like liquid across her skin. Her eyes glowed with cold fire. Her voice carried without effort, strong and sharp, as if the very ground obeyed her. The soldiers froze. No one dared to raise a weapon. Even the machines seemed to stop their broken hums. Time itself felt slower, pulled into her presence. Her gaze fell across the soldiers, but it did not stay on them. It passed over their fear, their trembling hands, their weak hearts. Her eyes found the human warrior. For a moment, the world was quiet again. Smoke hung in the air. The beam of light held steady. Every soldier's eyes turned toward the same man. The human warrior did not bow. He did not lower his weapon. He looked at her the same way he had looked at every enemy straight in the eye. And then she spoke. Her voice was clear, deep and cold. "I want him." The soldiers gasped. Some almost dropped their weapons. Others stepped back in shock. Her words carried power, and they carried choice. She had not said kill him. She had not said destroy them all. She had said only one thing. She wanted him. Confusion spread through the humans. Why him? Why this one man? Was he not just another soldier? Why did the queen of the enemy, the terror of the stars, choose him? Whispers moved through the ranks. What does she mean? Why him? Does she want him as prisoner? Or worse? But the human warrior only stood taller. He said nothing. He did not flinch. His silence spoke louder than any word. The alien queen smiled, slow and dangerous. Her eyes burned brighter. She turned to her generals behind her, alien shapes armored in black metal. She lifted her hand, a single gesture. The ground shook as the alien army began to move. They did not fire their weapons. They did not charge to kill. They moved with one clear purpose: to take him. The soldiers around the human warrior raised their rifles in panic. Some shouted. Some begged him to run. But he did not move. He kept his eyes on the queen, and she kept her eyes on him. In that silent moment, a truth became clear to everyone who watched. This was no ordinary battle. This was not about land or victory or even survival. This was about one man, and whatever the alien queen wanted with him, it would change everything. The wind rose. The ships rumbled above. The alien army marched forward. The hook was set. The game had begun. The alien army moved closer. Their footsteps were like thunder rolling across the battlefield. The human warrior stood still. His eyes did not leave the queen. The soldiers around him looked at him with fear, but also with hope. They all wondered the same thing. Why him? The queen wanted him. But who was he? He was not born a hero. He was not raised in palaces or trained from childhood. He was once just a man, living on a small world far from power. He had no crown, no title. His name was whispered only among soldiers, not written in history. And yet, here he stood, chosen by the queen herself. Long before this night, before the ships burned the skies, he had lived a simple life. He worked with his hands, built machines, and fixed what others broke. People came to him when they needed help. He was strong, yes, but not just in body. He had a different strength, a strength that could not be measured in weapons or armor. When war came, he was not the first to join. But when the soldiers needed someone to lead, when chaos and fear destroyed order, he stepped forward. He picked up a weapon not for glory, but for the people beside him. He fought not for medals, but for survival. In battle after battle, his courage was tested. He did not run when stronger foes arrived. He did not bend when his unit was surrounded. He stood, always, even when death itself seemed certain. His men said his spirit was like fire bright, unstoppable. Refusing to die, there was one story the soldiers told again and again. The night of the Crimson Valley. 1,000 alien beasts had come under the cover of night. They had torn through the front lines. The humans had fallen back, broken and scattered. But the human warrior did not retreat. He stood alone on the narrow path between the valley walls. The enemy swarmed like shadows, but he held the line. His weapon broke, his armor cracked, his body bled, but he fought on. When morning came, the valley floor was red with dust and blood. Hundreds of beasts lay dead, and he still stood, breathing hard, weapon in hand. The soldiers who returned that day never forgot it. They said one man had become a wall, and behind that wall, humanity lived. From that day, whispers of him grew. Some called him cursed, others called him blessed. But all agreed he was no ordinary man. Now, standing before the alien queen, his past seemed to rise around him. She had seen him fight. She had seen him survive what no one else could. She did not want him dead. She wanted him alive. She wanted his spirit, the very thing that made him different. The alien generals shouted in their strange tongue. Their army moved faster, closing the distance. Energy weapons glowed in their hands. The humans lifted their rifles, fear in their eyes. Fall back. One soldier cried. No, another said. We cannot leave him. But the human warrior raised his hand, steady and calm. His voice was low, but it carried strength. Stand your ground. The soldiers looked at him. Something in his tone made their fear shrink. His eyes burned like fire. In that moment, they remembered why they followed him. Not because he ordered, but because he believed. The aliens charged. The human warrior stepped forward, blade in hand. His movements were fast, precise. He cut through the first wave with strength that seemed larger than life. Energy blasts struck the ground near him, but he did not fall. Every swing of his weapon was filled with the force of his will. Every step forward felt like a storm breaking chains. He was only one man, but he fought as if he carried the weight of all humanity on his shoulders. The alien queen watched. Her eyes narrowed, but not in anger. In interest. Her lips curved into a slow smile. She spoke softly, but her generals heard. Do you see it? He does not fight to live. He fights because he cannot stop. That is the strength of his kind. That is why I want him. The battle raged, but the human warrior did not break. Even when the aliens closed in, even when the humans cried out, he pressed on. He did not fight for himself. He fought for every voice behind him, for every soldier who still dared to stand. And when the dust cleared for a moment, when the smoke lifted just enough, the soldiers saw him standing there. His armor cracked, his body bleeding, but his spirit blazing. One soldier whispered, almost in awe, "He cannot be broken." The human warrior raised his blade once more. His eyes locked with the queen's, for the first time. Her smile faded, because even she, the terror of the stars, felt it. This man was different. This man was dangerous. The smoke thinned across the battlefield. The human warrior stood tall, his blade dripping with alien blood. Around him, human soldiers caught their breath. Some trembled, some whispered, but all of them watched him. He had survived again. He had held the line when no one else could. High above, the great alien ship rumbled. Its dark shadow stretched across the broken earth. Inside that ship, in her throne of black silver, the alien queen watched. Her eyes glowed with cold fire. Her lips curved into a smile, not of joy, but of calculation. She did not want him dead. No death was too small a prize. She wanted him alive. And her generals, gathered in a circle of armored giants, could not understand why. One of them spoke in their harsh language. His voice was deep, like stone grinding against stone. "Queen, he is only a man, a soldier. Let us burn him. Let us crush this planet." Another hissed with rage. "He kills too many of our kind. He is a threat. End him now." The queen raised her hand. The room fell silent. Her presence was enough to cut through their anger. She stood, her armor flowing like liquid shadows around her. Her eyes looked far beyond her generals. "You do not see what I see," she said softly, though her voice carried through the chamber like thunder. "You see a man of flesh and bone. I see something more. I see fire." The generals looked at one another, confused. "Fire?" One asked. "Yes," the queen whispered. "The fire that does not die. The fire that resists even the void of space. It is rare, it is dangerous. And it is the one thing our empire has lost." She stepped toward the viewing window. Below, the human warrior lifted his blade again. Even from this distance, his spirit seemed to burn. "Look at him," she said. "Surrounded, outnumbered, wounded, and yet he fights. Not because he hopes to live. Not because he believes in victory. He fights because his spirit refuses to bow. That is why I want him." The generals shifted uneasily. One growled, "You would take him as a slave." Her smile sharpened. "No, not a slave. A seed." The chamber grew cold. The word echoed. A seed. The queen turned, her cloak of black metal flowing behind her. She stood tall, regal, terrible. "Our empire grows weaker with each century. Our armies are strong, our weapons powerful, but our hearts. She pressed a hand against her chest. Our hearts are empty. Our kind was born to conquer, but we have forgotten why. We have lost the will to burn. That is why we need him. The generals fell silent. None dared to speak against her. She walked to the great throne and sat, her eyes still fixed on the battlefield. Her voice dropped lower, darker. He will give us what we have lost. His strength, his spirit, his defiance it will shape the future of our kind. I do not want his death. I want his essence. I want his fire. I want him. On the battlefield, the human warrior felt the weight of unseen eyes. He did not know her words, but he felt her intent. It pressed against him like a cold wind, whispering promises and threats. The soldiers near him whispered too. Why does she not strike us? Why does she wait? What does she want with him? The warrior said nothing. He stood ready, blade in hand. His silence was its own answer. Back inside the ship, the queen leaned forward. He will resist me. He must resist me. That is what makes him strong. And when I break him, when I bend that strength into my will, he will become more than a man. He will become mine. And through him, the galaxy will remember my name. For the first time, a ripple of fear passed through her generals. They had followed her for centuries. They had seen her burn worlds, crush empires, silence entire systems. But now they saw something different in her eyes. This was not just conquest. This was obsession. The queen raised her hand, and her voice cut through the chamber like a blade. Send the hunters. Do not kill him. Do not harm him. Bring him to me. Alive? The generals bowed, though unease lingered in their eyes. They obeyed her, for none could disobey the queen. Outside, the alien army changed formation. Their weapons shifted. Their movements grew precise. They were no longer trying to destroy the humans. They were trying to capture one man. The human warrior saw it. His eyes narrowed. He understood now. This was not about the war. This was not about his people. This was about him. And as the aliens closed in, as the queen's plan moved into motion, a thought burned in his mind. Why me? The queen's voice echoed through the darkness, though only her generals heard it, because his spirit is the key. And I will have it. Even if I must burn 1,000 worlds to take it. The order had been given. From the great ship above, the alien queen's hunters descended. They did not fall like ordinary soldiers. They moved like shadows, their armor blending with the smoke. Their weapons glowed with strange light, built not to kill, but to bind. These were not warriors of destruction. They were hunters of prey. The human warrior felt it at once. The battle had changed. The aliens no longer fired to destroy. Their weapons hummed with nets of energy, lines of light that could trap and paralyze. The air crackled with the sound of capture, not death. He tightened his grip on his blade. His heart pounded, but his eyes stayed calm. He had faced death many times before. But this was different. Death would have been simple. Capture was far more dangerous around him. Human soldiers shouted in confusion. They're not killing us. They're after him. Protect the warrior. The first hunters struck. Energy nets flew across the battlefield, glowing blue against the dark smoke. Soldiers were caught, falling to the ground as their bodies locked in place. Some cried out, others froze, their weapons slipping from their hands. The human warrior moved quickly. With one swing of his blade, he cut through the glowing net aimed for him. Sparks scattered into the night air. Another net shot toward him. He rolled to the side, the ground shaking beneath his feet, and struck again. The hunters closed in. They were taller than normal soldiers, faster and silent. Their faces were hidden behind smooth masks. their movements precise. They circled him like predators around prey. One lunged forward, spear crackling with light. The human warrior blocked with his blade. The clash shook the ground, sending a flash of energy across the battlefield. Another hunter leaped from behind, net flying from his wrist. The warrior spun, cutting it in midair, but for every net he broke, two more came. For every hunter he struck down, more replaced them. The soldiers around him tried to fight back. Bullets cracked, explosions roared, but the hunters ignored them. Their focus was clear only him. The alien queen's voice whispered in his mind, though she had not spoken aloud. It was like a shadow in his thoughts, cold and sharp. You cannot fight forever. Surrender, and your men will live. Resist, and they will all fall because of you. He snarled under his breath. I will never bow. He fought harder. Every swing of his blade was filled with fire. He cut through armor, shattered weapons, broke lines. His strength was not just in his muscles, it was in his will. The hunters pressed harder, but his defiance grew stronger. Still, the trap was closing. The humans were being overwhelmed. One soldier screamed as a net locked him in place. Another fell silent, glowing strands wrapping around his body. Soon, only a small circle remained around the human warrior. Go. One soldier shouted. We'll hold them back. But the warrior shook his head. No, I stand with you. And he did. He fought not behind them, but beside them. He struck with his blade while they fired their rifles. Together, for a brief moment, they pushed the hunters back. The queen watched from above. Her smile was slow, dangerous. Yes, she whispered. Fight. Show me your fire. The more you resist, the more you prove why I want you. She lifted her hand. A new command echoed through the hunters. Suddenly, the ground itself moved. Strange devices buried in the earth activated, glowing with alien light. Beams of energy rose, forming walls around the battlefield. The humans looked around in terror. They were trapped inside a cage of light. The human warrior's eyes narrowed. His escape had been cut off. The queen had not only sent hunters, she had turned the battlefield itself into a prison. The hunters attacked in unison now. Nets flew from every direction. The warrior cut, rolled, and struck, but even he could not stop them all. One wrapped around his arm, burning his skin. He tore it free with a roar. Another caught his leg, dragging him down. He slashed it apart, sparks flying. But then 3 nets came at once. He broke one, dodged another, but the third wrapped around his chest. The glowing strands tightened, locking against his armor. His blade slipped from his hand, falling to the ground with a heavy clang. The soldiers shouted in horror. They've got him. Fight them off. But more hunters swarmed. They knocked the humans aside, nets flying, bodies falling. The human warrior struggled, muscles straining, fire in his eyes. The energy burned his skin, but he refused to kneel. He pushed against the net with all his strength. For a moment, it seemed he might break free. His roar shook the battlefield, his arms pulling against the glowing bonds. The hunters staggered, surprised by his power. But then, the queen's voice filled the air, louder than thunder, colder than ice. Enough, the net tightened. The ground itself seemed to press against him. His body dropped to one knee, though his eyes still burned with defiance. The alien queen's shadow fell across him, her great ship lowering closer. Her voice echoed once more. He is mine. The battlefield grew still. The hunters stepped back. The humans watched in silence, their hope breaking like glass. The chamber was vast. Its walls curved high into darkness, covered with strange living metal that pulsed like veins. The air was heavy, filled with the low hum of alien machines. Chains of glowing energy bound the human warrior's arms. Pulling him forward across the floor, the hunters moved in silence, their masks blank, their footsteps echoing softly. They did not drag him. They didn't need to. The energy bonds guided his body, forcing him step by step toward the heart of the chamber at the end of the long hall sat. The alien queen. Her throne was not carved of stone or metal. It seemed alive, twisting, growing, breathing, as if the throne itself bent in worship to her. She sat with calm stillness, her eyes glowing faint like twin suns. Her crown was no ornament, but part of her flesh, a sharp halo of bone and silver that marked her as ruler of her kind. She did not speak at first. She simply watched as the human warrior was brought before her. Her generals lined the chamber, tall shadows standing silent, their alien eyes fixed on him. The hunters stopped, bowing low, then stepped back. The human warrior stood alone in the great hall. The energy chains held his arms tight. His chest burned where the bonds pressed into his skin. His armor was cracked, his body bruised. But his back was straight, his head high. His eyes did not lower. The alien queen leaned forward slightly. Her voice, when it came, was smooth and sharp at once, like a blade wrapped in silk. "So, this is the fire." The words echoed. The generals stirred, their strange armor whispering as they shifted. No one else dared to speak. The human warrior said nothing. His silence was louder than words. The queen smiled, slow and dangerous. "You resist even now, bound, broken, surrounded, yet your eyes do not bow. Do you know why I want you?" Still he did not answer. She rose from her throne, her tall form moving with grace and power. She circled him slowly, like a predator studying prey, yet her eyes were not hungry. They were curious, almost admiring. "You humans," she said softly, "you are fragile things. Bones that break, skin that bleeds, hearts that fail. And yet, in you, there is something my kind has lost. You stand when you should fall. You fight when you should surrender. You burn when even stars die." She stopped in front of him. Her glowing eyes locked with his. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "That is why I want you." At last, the human warrior spoke. His voice was low, rough, but steady. "I am not yours." The words hung heavy in the hall. Gasps came from the alien generals. One hissed. Another stepped forward in fury, but the queen raised her hand. Silence returned instantly. Her smile grew sharper. "Good," she said. "If you had begged, I would have killed you. If you had bowed, I would have forgotten you. But you resist. That makes you worthy." She turned away, walking back to her throne, her cloak of black metal flowing like liquid shadow. She sat once more, her eyes never leaving him. "You wonder what I plan," she said. "You think I want a slave, a prisoner, a trophy. You are wrong. I want something greater. I want your fire. I want it beside me, not beneath me." The warrior frowned. "I will never serve you." The queen tilted her head, amused. "You already serve me without knowing. Every moment you resist me, you prove my point. Every time you stand, you show my generals what true strength looks like. Already, you are mine." He pulled against the chains, his muscles straining, the glowing bonds sparking. His voice rose, fierce and raw. "I belong to no one." The chamber shook. The generals stepped back in shock. The energy bonds flickered under the force of his will. The queen's smile faded, but not in anger and awe. She whispered, almost to herself, "Yes, this is the fire I saw. This is what the galaxy has forgotten." For a moment, the hall was silent. The human warrior stood chained, but unbroken. The alien queen sat on her living throne, her eyes fixed on him, not as an enemy, but as something more dangerous. Then she lifted her hand. The chains tightened, dragging him to his knees. Gasps filled the chamber. But still, his eyes looked up, burning with defiance. The queen leaned forward, her voice soft as shadow, sharp as steel. "You will kneel now. But one day, you will rise beside me. That is my plan. And the galaxy will tremble when it hears my words. The fire of man burns with the queen." The chains locked tighter. The hall grew dark, but even as his body bent, the human warrior spirit did not, and the queen saw it. She saw the spark that no chain could kill, and she smiled because her plan had already begun. The chamber was silent, but it was not peace. It was the silence before a storm. The human warrior knelt in chains of light, his body pressed down, his spirit still burning. The alien queen sat high on her living throne, her eyes glowing with cold fire. For long moments, she said nothing. The generals watched, waiting for her command. The hunters stood still as statues. The only sound was the hum of the energy bonds tightening around the warrior's arms. At last, the queen spoke. Her voice was quiet, but it carried through the hall like a blade sliding across stone. "You wonder why I want you? You wonder why I did not kill you when I had the chance. Shall I tell you the truth, human?" The warrior's voice was rough but steady. "Tell me then." The queen leaned back, her hand resting against her throne. The living metal pulsed under her touch. Her eyes narrowed as if she looked not at him, but threw him into something deeper. "My empire is dying," she said at last. The generals stiffened, some lowering their heads, others glaring with unease. It was not a truth often spoken. Our fleets still burn the skies. Our armies still march across worlds. To the galaxy, we are endless. But I know the truth. Every battle drains us. Every century, our numbers grow smaller. Our weapons are strong, but our spirit... She paused, her hand pressing against her chest. "Our spirit is fading." She stood slowly, her tall form casting long shadows across the hall. She began to walk, her steps echoing. Her voice grew colder, sharper. "My kind was born to conquer. We were fire once, but now we are ash. My soldiers obey, but they do not burn. They fight, but they do not believe. They live, but they do not live." She stopped in front of him, her glowing eyes locked on his. "And then I saw you." The warrior's chains tightened, but he lifted his head. His eyes did not bow. "You should have fallen," she said. "You should have broken like all the others. But you did not. You stood. Again and again. Surrounded, wounded, hopeless, you still burned. Do you know what that means?" The warrior's voice was low. "It means I am human." The queen's lips curved into a slow, dangerous smile. "No, it means you are the future." Her words cut the hall into silence. Even the generals shifted uneasily. She continued, her voice now fierce, filled with hunger. "I do not want your flesh. I do not want your life as a slave. I want the fire that burns inside you. I want it to spread to my people. I want your spirit to be the seed of something greater. A new empire built not on obedience, but on defiance. A fire that will never die." The warrior's face hardened. His voice was steel. "You cannot take what is mine. My spirit is not yours to shape." The queen leaned closer, her eyes glowing brighter. "Do you think fire asks permission before it spreads? No. It burns what it touches. And you, human, you will burn within us." Whether you wish it or not, the generals shifted, whispers rising in their alien tongue. Some were afraid. Some were furious. But none dared challenge her. The human warrior pulled against the chains, his muscles straining, the glowing bonds sparking. His voice rose, fierce and unbroken. "You speak of fire, but you do not understand it. Fire cannot be caged. Fire cannot be commanded. Fire burns where it chooses, and I choose to burn against you." For the first time, the queen's smile faltered. Her eyes narrowed, but not with anger, with something stranger. Something almost like respect. "Good," she whispered. "Resist me. The stronger you fight, the brighter your fire becomes. And the brighter it burns, the more it will consume. Until one day, even you will not know where your fire ends, and mine begins." She turned, walking back to her throne, her cloak of living metal flowing behind her. She sat once more, her voice echoing through the chamber. "This is the hidden truth. I do not want your death. I do not want your surrender. I want your resistance. Because your resistance is the fire that will keep my empire alive. And I will keep you, human, until the galaxy itself burns with it." The chains tightened once more. The hall grew darker. The generals lowered their heads, but the human warrior's eyes still burned. He whispered more to himself than to her. "Then you will never win." Because the fire of man was never meant to serve a queen. The queen smiled again, slow and terrible. "We will see." The chamber lights dimmed, pulsing with a rhythm like a heartbeat. The human warrior knelt in glowing chains, his body bound, but his eyes burning like fire. The alien queen sat upon her throne, tall and still, her glowing gaze locked on him. For a long moment, neither moved. Silence filled the hall. The generals whispered among themselves, nervous, uneasy. They could not understand why their queen had spared this man, why she risked so much for one human. Some wanted him executed, others feared him, but none dared speak their thoughts aloud. The queen broke the silence. Her voice was soft, but every word cut the air like a blade. "You will stay here, human. You will see my empire. You will watch as I take your fire piece by piece until it belongs to me." The warrior lifted his head. His voice was low, steady, unbroken. "You will fail." Her eyes narrowed, though not with anger. With curiosity. "Why do you believe that?" He leaned forward against the chains, his face hard, his eyes bright. "Because fire does not spread only where you want it. Fire spreads everywhere. And while you think you are taking my spirit, I am already burning yours." The queen's smile froze. For the first time, her hand tightened on the throne. A flicker of unease crossed her glowing eyes. The generals shifted, confused. They did not understand his words. But she did, because deep inside, she felt it. Something was changing when she first saw him. She thought she was the hunter, and he the prey. She thought she would capture his spirit, twist it, and use it. But now, staring into his eyes, she felt something dangerous. His fire was not only resisting her, horror was pushing back. And for a brief moment, she felt the smallest spark inside her own chest. A spark she had not felt in centuries. Doubt. She stood quickly. Her armor flowing around her, her shadow stretching long across the hall. She spoke louder, sharper, as if to cut away the feeling. "You are mine. You will burn in my name." The warrior did not flinch. His voice rose, fierce and steady. "No, you will burn in mine." The generals gasped, stepping back in shock. The hunters tightened their grips on their weapons. The hall shook as if the very walls felt the clash of their words. The queen raised her hand. The chains around him glowed brighter, searing his skin. But he did not scream. He leaned forward, fire in his eyes, defiance on his lips, and then something strange happened. The chains flickered, the energy pulsed. But for the briefest moment, it weakened. Not because of his strength alone, but because the queen's focus broke. Her hand trembled. Her eyes widened because the spark inside her chest as fire was spreading. She whispered, "It's too soft for her generals to hear. This is impossible." The warrior's voice was low, but it carried through the hall. "This is only the beginning." The chamber fell into silence again. The generals waited for her command, their alien eyes watching. The hunters stood ready, but the queen did not speak. She sat back on her throne, her expression unreadable. Her lips curved into the faintest smile, though her eyes betrayed something new, something dangerous. "Doubt. Doubt," she whispered, almost to herself. "Yes. This is only the beginning." The chains tightened again, locking the human warrior in place. The hunters stepped forward, ready to drag him away. The generals lowered their heads. The hall grew darker, but the truth was already burning between them. The queen thought she had captured the fire, but the fire was already spreading. Not across the humans, not across the soldiers, but inside her. The twist was clear. She wanted him. But now, part of her feared she needed him. And the human warrior, bound in chains, bleeding but unbroken, whispered the final words of defiance. "You will never own me. But one day, I will own your fear." The chamber shook with silence, and far above, the galaxy waited, because the war between them had only just begun.